All right, ladies and gentlemen, the time to wait has finally ended. We are here today with the Alpha, a crypto gaming expert of the seams that not the normies can understand. We've got GuildFi's co-founder here with us today, Jarinder, and he's got here in the flesh. Jarinder, how are we doing? You like the jams? Are they too loud?
I love the jams, man.
The jams, dude. I was like, I have to get the synthwave. Whenever crypto gaming tokens do their trailers, typically speaking, what I notice is they do a lot of synth and they do a lot of like rave music. Is there a reason for this? Do you know about trailers and how people make them?
I mean, it depends on the games, but I think it's about, like how people look into games work, right? Like you need to be hyped, you need to be excited. I think that's the reason.
That's what I think it is. Yeah, has to be the hype. Yeah. Okay. Well, clearly there's a lot of hype in crypto gaming right now. Let's be honest. Like everything was really boring for a good year, and now I'm taking like 20-minute showers, shaving everything just to try to get over here and make things happen because it's so busy right now. It is absolutely insane. I'm sure your play is crazy. I mean, you were rushing home, so I mean, clearly you're busy doing your thing too. So I mean, it's a pleasure to have you on. I'm sure we're gonna have a great chat here. And so let's start this off here with a very simple one. What is your take on the crypto gaming space right now?
Yeah. It's pretty, I think the whole space have been quite far, and comparing to like 2 years or 3 years ago. I have been in the crypto space since I would say like 7-8 years. And
8 years? What was going on in crypto gaming 8 years ago?
I would say overall not crypto gaming, but like crypto gaming is actually a thing very, very early on. I would say like even like 6 years ago, when people not really into like crypto gamings that time. People are exploring, like that time, like CKs, layer 2s doesn't even exist. Like if like plasma protocols with Ethereums, is very early days. And that time, like already start talking about gaming is actually a thing.
Really? People were talking about gaming back then?
Yeah, like, like there are so many OG games, crypto projects that born that time, maybe not existed anymore. But that time people, like start doing games with a very simple concept, like just playing games and you earn tokens. But crypto gaming has been here for a very, very long time. And, I always look at the whole gaming industries, not gaming industry, like crypto industries as a game itself. And like it totally makes sense for the whole, like games, right? Like, like people playing games, always familiar with, like tradings, economies, and it just fit perfectly since like forever, right? But I think it just take a bit of more time to let people realize that actually games is a thing.
Just a little bit?
Watch it. A couple of years.
A couple of years? What's the timeline? Is it? Hey, dude, they said that the bull cycle is supposed to be coming out and that apparently next year is going to be the year of crypto gaming. You're telling me a couple of years. That's the bear market. I'm now freaking out. Is your outline of like 10 years into the future, we have like 3 super cycles and then finally they're going to realize the next fortnight? Or are we going to get a little bit of something next year, hopefully?
Perspective of, like players, and people don't realize how much time you need to, like for games to be built, right? Like,
okay, give me an example.
For example, Pokemon's, right? Like Nintendo's or whatever, announced that they're gonna launch a game 4 years ago, and the game is not even out yet. And like the trailer is there like 4 years ago, and people are still excited about that. Just wanted to wait for the games. That's an example. Like, a lot of many AAA games usually spend like at least 4 years to have like a proper games coming out. Like, so like it usually takes at least 2 to 5 years to have something that is actually playable. Many games that you see trailers, everything. So let's go back on why building game is hard, especially in blockchain gamings, right?
Okay.
So I'm a technical person. So usually building games have 2 sides, right? One is clients, another one is servers. And most of the, I wouldn't say easy part is the client side. Is the stuff that you see, like you can move your mouse, everything on the screen move, like have fancy animations or whatever. But what makes crypto gaming is very, very, very difficult is that you basically need to create a game that is very hard to basically like exploit or hack, right? And that makes
Okay.
building gaming infrastructures much harder and takes much more time. Um, so like that's why many games usually come up with this mini games that just like people to try to enjoy and plays around before the actual game's gonna come out in 2 years or 3 years. So yeah, usually that's why like the whole space, the whole crypto gaming industry takes a bit of time to actually mature. And but hey, like we are here today, and comparing
This is
to
true.
just like 2 years ago, it's been quite a long journey. And like it's super excited. A lot of games, tons of game we invested, tons of games that we talk about like for the past years going to launch an actual playable games. I wouldn't say a full game yet, but an actual playable games demos or something that you're able to enjoy for a couple of hours. And it's gonna come next year, and it's gonna be big for the whole industry as well.
Okay, yeah, I like how you said playable, not full games. People have this conception that when you launch a video game, it's fully out and everything is out there. People are building out mini games right now because they understand that they've got to keep the eyes on there. The niche is definitely there and the narrative, but their game's not done yet. so they're waiting on that, which makes a lot of sense.
People thought that like games that are gonna come out next year is like, oh, it's gonna be the next like full launch games. But most of the games
Yeah.
that they can launch is gonna be, it's not even like beta. It's maybe like like pre-betas, pre-alpha that you at least
They
you
call
able to-
themselves betas.
yeah. And it's probably gonna take maybe a year or two after that, like refining before like properly launch, right? It takes a lot of time in building games.
All right, cool. So with this being said, you're bullish on these games coming out next year. Is this a bull market? Are we finally there? Do you think that you're getting an increased inflow in terms of GuildFi peeps that want to go ahead and onboard? Is this happening, or do you think we're going to get faked out into the Bitcoin ETF news?
Personally, I think this is basically we're running into a bull market,
Okay.
or quite like a mini bull market or whatever. Due to, I think the overall industries have grown a lot, right? And people have been waiting for this moment for forever, at least 2 years. Like we have
It's
a
been
we
too
have
long.
we have a deep bear market for 2 years straight, and then like finally something breaks out, right? This also totally depends on which chain you're on as well. Some chain actually go much further. Some game actually doing much better.
Okay.
Like if you look into Solana's AVAX ecosystem that have been blowing off.
It only
is
goes up, yeah.
is just going up, right?
Yeah.
So that is basically a good sign, right? Like comparing to last cycle, like 2 years ago, we like GuildFi started as a gaming guild, at the top of market. And it's very interesting because like we have seen the whole cycle of the gamings, right? Like we have seen from nothing goes up to every single game starting at 300 million like FTV or like circulating, right? And if anything under 100 is a buy, right? Like that last
Right.
cycle. And at the peak, and then everything dropped 98%. Like every single gaming tokens, like like if you look at GuildFi tokens, for
Like
example,
even your token, like the market
yeah,
cap
like
is
we started at
drastically
$4.
different. Yeah.
So that is an example of what a difference between perspectives, right?
Yeah.
Like as everyone knows here, like to be honest, like gaming, especially crypto, is very speculative assets, and everything runs on, most of the stuff runs on like how people perceived that specific moments, right?
Yeah.
I can, for example, I can give you an example on term of investment.
Mm-hmm.
Just last year, right? Every games are basically begging for investment, and the valuation is basically like dirt cheap, right? And comparing to now, every game is like like the VCs itself need to beg to get into the rounds, and like the valuation is pretty steep, even though
They're
they
ridiculous.
yeah, it's ridiculous, right? And like the funny part is that many games comparing to last year until now, like the fundamental of it itself is not that different. So what is very important is the perspective of people how look into like the whole industries right now. Everything is, people feels that it's going up, and like the games is blowing up. Everyone believe that next year, as me as well, believe that is going to be something that is going to be huge, right, for the whole industries, because we have tons of games that gonna coming out. And okay, some of them probably not gonna make it, but we definitely gonna see some games blow off next year for sure.
Yeah, let
And
me tell you
yeah,
that even on CoinMarketCap, gaming is one of the top niches in terms of categories. So people are really excited for this specific niche.
yeah, I think is a thing that people is very easy to resonate with. A lot of people play games, right? And especially crypto people. Like the huge overlap between people that play games and playing cryptos, and that it makes total sense for like sooner or later this industry is we're probably gonna be much bigger, and we all knows that gaming industry is gonna be just keep growing bigger and bigger in not just Web3, right, but in Web2 as well. Everyone knows that everything will turn into games. Like all the game companies will be bigger and bigger. The whole industry, entertainment, will be much bigger comparing from a couple of years ago. Um, yeah, so super excited here.
Yeah,
It's
fair
definitely
enough.
a big program.
I mean, it's hard not to be excited when your name is GuildFi and you've got reserves of. This was in July, by the way, so I'm sure this is much different now. I have no idea what it's looking at like right now. But back in July, you did a mid-year update on what GuildFi was. And I looked, and you guys have, what, $100 million worth of reserves with $15.9 million in liquid and seed investments. So is this number kind of similar right now, or has it changed?
Yeah, definitely it grows bigger.
Good,
We
good.
basically, I can give you some context on what GuildFi, started like 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
we started in eras of play to earn as a gaming guild, right? We raised
Oh God, Axie
that time.
Infinity.
Axie Infinities, everyone knows about that. We are probably one of the top three biggest holder in terms of Axie, in terms of
Wow.
scholarship.
Even to this
Uh,
day?
Definitely not today, but
Okay,
that
okay.
time. Right? Yeah, but we still hold ton of asset in Axie Infinities because, people might feels like, oh, like Axie Infinities is like the old game play to earn, but people don't realize that they are the OG here, right?
They
And
are.
who would be the one that know the best what are the stuff that you shouldn't do or what you should do after they have been experienced every single cycle, from top to bottom, from the biggest hack in the industries, from how to run gaming crypto economies that is sustainable, like Ronin itself. We are one of the biggest holder in Ronin as well, so we are still very bullish in terms of
Ah,
activities.
you
But
must be very
back in
happy.
the days, we are pretty crazy. That time is pretty crazy. Like all the gaming guilds, I think at the top worth like $10 billion. That time we were earning like 2 to 3 mils a month. Like have running
Jeez.
scholarships, breeding axes. So it has come a long way, right? And until today, you see activities have been keep building stuff, which is also something that is exciting. And yeah, we basically bullish in many gaming chains, Ronin, Immutables, yeah, even Being itself as well.
Yeah, and let's talk about this a little bit further. You just talked about building games. GuildFi game? Is that a thing?
Oh
Are you
yeah,
working on a game?
definitely, right? So
Really?
alphas here. Next year we're gonna have a very big announcement in
Really?
Q1, which we'll be launching Project C. That will come with a couple of products as well. We're gonna launch game publishers. We will turn ourselves into a gigantic game ecosystem. As we are basically a gaming ecosystem that have one of the biggest treasury in the ecosystem, even comparing to DeFi, right? I would say we are in the top five or top 10,
That's
right?
crazy.
If like projects that in the industries that have something similar is basically Murray circles and beams. We basically started in the very same cycle 2 years ago, when everyone started as a gaming guild. Murray circle also started as a gaming guild as well, right? So we raised similar amount. We raised until then we kind of like one of the biggest gaming ecosystems, right? And basically Moriseko actually did a very well rebrand itself into like Beam
Yeah,
running
they did
gaming.
very well with the rebrand. Yeah.
Yeah. Me personally also know the co-founders. We have
Hmm.
been chatting here and then. We might have something coming out as well. So definitely, next year we're gonna have our own game publishers coming up with our own games, and as you know, we are probably gonna be one of the biggest um, announcement coming up as well.
Really? And you're definitely tying me into this, right? You're telling me about this, so I can tell them for sure. This is happening.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Are we even live right now? If we're live, then everyone already heard about it.
Yeah, of course, of course. Okay, so you're doing a game publishing platform. That's really interesting. It makes a lot of sense. You incubate games practically, right, with your investments. So why not go ahead and help them further along the scale? You just keep scaling, right? Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. And so at this point, you're not even really just a gaming platform. It's a gaming ecosystem. And I mean, I'm guessing, will there be some sort of GameFi, GuildFi blockchain that ends up launching on some subnet or something, or what?
If you read on my Twitters, they're already alpha there. We
Uh-huh.
have our own infrastructures as well. That will be coming up next year. So as you can see, there are tons of like products that gonna come up that aligns on what we're gonna build. First is like the game publisher itself. We have infrastructures that people can build on top of it. We have identity layers, player profiles, and actually we're gonna have an NFT projects coming up as well that
Hmm.
people will be excited about. So I would say next year have around like 5 products lining up already, and a couple of games that we're gonna publish as well. I would say at least 3 to 4 games that we're gonna start publishing.
Hmm. And
With
these games have
our
been in development.
Yes, and some of them is already done as well. So exciting time next year, and also our investment, have been doing quite well recently.
I'd imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, like games blew off, everything is doing quite well. Our treasury size, our like runway is basically very very healthy. So I can give you a rough number is like close to 100 mil. I would say I think it's probably above that a bit as well. I didn't look into the latest number, but by basically like with our huge treasuries, right, we're already earning quite a significant revenues from just like Ethereum stakings, like investments. Our latest investment is recently went on Binance Launchpad as well. So everything is pretty well aligned, and yeah, very ready to rock in 2024.
All right. Tell me, why token? Why do people get into things like GuildFi? What's the utility behind this token?
Right now the utility is for governance.
Okay.
That basically you can stake and you can vote for investment. You can vote for change in some certain parameters in our ecosystem. But next year, their utilities will be kicking in, right? Like it will turn into a single token that have a couple of utilities. So it's going to be a governance token as well. You can use it as currency. You can basically use it to run nodes. You can basically to
Nodes?
I heard you love nodes, right?
Did you just say nodes?
I know you
Keep
guys.
talking.
So like I couldn't say much right now, but
Hmm.
basically it's gonna be a single token that you can have influence into our lore, stories, world itself, and tons of utilities will be coming out that time. I wouldn't want to try to leak much here. We also gonna have like buyback as well.
Okay,
So
keep
more
going. Keep
stuff.
talking. Just keep going. Okay, wow.
Every
I
stuff that is coming out next year. We are super excited. Yeah.
You guys are about to do a merit beam. That's what's going on right here. That's really interesting. I didn't even know about this before the talk, so very interesting. And something else I saw. So you're doing a new token, and you're gonna do like probably some kind of migration similar to what Beam is doing, right, with Merit Circle. I noticed on your pinned tweet that you said that today the last batch of GF from GuildFi Global Seed Round has been distributed. It's a very important milestone. A lot of these tokens have a lot of trouble with their tokenomics because, seed rounds, I mean, look at what happened to this token, right? In terms of market cap, it's pretty much at all-time highs, but in terms of price, significantly different. So leading into what is going to be probably your new token, right? What have you learned from back in, 2021 when you ended up launching into today, where the space is, I'd say, significantly different in terms of landscape? What are you going to be doing leading into this one? Is there going to be some sort... I don't think there's going to be a seed round again, right? Are you just going to lead in the tokenomics again from where it was before? What are the important things that you've learned?
Oh, I think it's a very fun topic to talk about because, like myself as an entrepreneur, I'm engineers, I'm been a couple of products, but GuildFi have launched in a very significant day. That time is basically the peak of market, right? So if you talk about like how crypto industry works, is that you really want to create a very vibrant communities that basically hold your tokens and basically be happy about it and believe in your futures, right? But that time, GuildFi, going to be very, very honest, we launched at the top peak of markets, and basically, if you look into every single coin that launched around that time is, the graph doesn't look very nice, even like Mercicles, and some gaming guild that launched at times, right?
Yeah.
Everything is just like deep, nose down, and
it was so bad.
No, but that is something that is pretty difficult for a project to run, because like now you have holders that basically trust you that time, but due to market conditions and everything, it's very, very hard to just like say that you could outperform the whole industries that basically drop 98% every single coins, right? And that I think is something that you could learn from that a lot. On the only thing I wouldn't say the only thing, the one of the most important thing here we learned before going to 2024 is that we need to value our token holders a lot, right? We basically need to give back values to them and basically make them as our biggest hardcore fan. And
Yeah.
that is something that many gaming projects, or even like as a crypto project, kind of like miss out, due to they feel like, okay, I just need to build a good games, I just need to build a like a good protocol, good products, then people would just like feel excited about. I mean,
Okay.
that is true, but like the big roles that you basically need to look into, all the holders as well. They are basically your biggest supporters. Some of them are not people that actually play your games. Some of them, they are not just like you even using your platforms, right? They're just like buying your tokens, and you basically they have might be influencers or whatever, but these are basically your supporters as well. You couldn't just look into, okay, I want to build a good product and hopefully people will see it, and like you don't really need to care about holders here and there. So that will basically change a lot for GuildFi next year. I wouldn't say like we having a new tokens or whatever. That's what you just said on your on your way. But yeah, so that's one thing. Another thing is I wanted to talk about is like when we talk about a seed investments, right? Like we have a very strong backers. Our seed round investors are basically like Coinbase, Binance, Animookers, Hash, and a couple of group names are Panthers. Those are basically those big VCs that invested and still believe in us until today. Many of the VCs, especially on the good names one, basically didn't sell a single tokens that like they invested in seed rounds, even they are up quite significantly, and they believe in our long-term visions that we wanted to build one of the biggest social gaming network for the whole industry, to basically bring games, bring entertainment to like to more users in the futures, and building infrastructures as well. So like when I mentioned about like why is the big significance milestones, is that people always have this perspective of inflations, right? Like like the tokens keep increasing, but the reality is that the token that increased is not moving. So like, so I would say this is significant milestone that people see like, okay, like your token is not increasing in circulations anymore. Like, and everything would be much better in terms of like the market caps and everything here.
So the price go up easier.
I wouldn't
That
say
makes
that,
sense.
but I think it's more on like perspective of what people see.
That's
But
what people think. Yeah, of course.
yeah, that's what people think, and I believe like wanted to mention all of the seed investors. They like they're true believers in
They're
what
still
we do.
loyal. Obviously, they invested in your seed round, right? Like they
Yeah,
had to believe in your vision, and the fact that they're still holding is insane. I mean, it's been 2 years, so that's a lot of conviction. That usually pays off big. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense why you did that. So it was less about the fact that the seed round distribution happened and they, left, and more so like you got Coinbase, Binance Labs, Hash, Animoca, Defiance, Capital here, all supporting you as VCs and continuing to support you, which is something that doesn't get said enough. I mean, a lot of people think of VCs as the bad guys, but I mean, they're kind of the ones making it happen in the first place.
of course. I think you can look like VCs are their pros and cons, right? On how they do investments. So if you're going to be super honest, why VC invest? They need profits, right? But
Of course.
like they're not just for the short terms. Many of them, especially the big names, they're here for many years, and everything is on chain. So I think that's the beauty of like blockchains, right? Like you can basically knows who is doing what, and like you can just track everything and transparently. So yeah, I think VCs is the pros and cons, but it helps a lot as well.
And you're kind of a little bit of a VC yourself, aren't you?
Of course. Yeah,
Okay, so
we did a lot of gaming investment, like Charmnos. We have asset in big times. We have all the big names here that we invested. We also one of their kind of like most diamond hand as a holder, as a VC as well. Many games that we invested. This could look as a cons or pro for token holders, but we usually have a very long-term visions for the games and the projects that we invested. And most of the time, when we invested, we hold many years or until they are actually successful. Not like short-term investors, right? And when we do investment, we also do in terms of collaborations and how we could like grow together instead of just like invest and forget about it. So instead of like comparing to VCs, right? We are almost like a game publishers. So as like traditional game publishers also do investments, right? Like they invest in games and then they publish the games and they take profits from the games. So this is very similar for us. We invested in games and we grow them, and we find a way to collaborate with games that actually have a win-win situations here.
okay. So you collaborate with games for win-win situations, but tell me, you probably get a lot of applications of games looking for funding, of course. What do you look for in these games? How do you find the shrapnels, the Axie Infinities, the big times before other people do, and not throw your money into every single crypto gaming project that comes? How do you find the gems? And what sort of things are you looking for them to tell you in order to give you confidence in actually investing into their project?
I think one of the biggest thing here is the founders, which is very important here. I think the game itself is as important as well, but like if you look into how the whole crypto industry works, like the Web3 industry works, right? Everything moves so fast. Like okay, these 2 months might be Web3 games in the futures, and then let's say tomorrow, Ethereum drop to $1,000. Like everything will be crazy bearish, and people just like, oh, like Playtone is dead again, and like the Web3 games won't make it. Like that's what like similar concepts, right? Now what actually important more than the products that they're building is actually the founders that actually able to adapt around how the whole industry is going on, right? Gaming industries is one of the hardest vertical to do investments. This apply to Web2 to start with, right? As you can see, if you go back in traditional gaming industries, the gaming VCs are actually very niche VCs that like there are just a couple of names that do like specifically doing game investments. But if you look into like a broad overall in VCs, there are tons of them. As again, the reason here is that the success rate of games is very, very low, right? Like if you know, like startup usually like 90% is like like goes to nothing, right? Game is like 98 of the games goes to nothing, right? But one difference here is that usually for Web2 games, to capitalize, like to make a game successful, you basically need to launch, you get millions of users, you're able to generate revenues, right? But for Web3 games is quite different because you basically start building with your communities, and it's almost like you have a liquid, like stock market that launch on day one on the game launch, right? And now the game itself is also not in final stage before launch, and there are tons of like speculative around that, right? And if you basically now it opens a door for everyone to invest in the next rare games, for example, that usually in traditional gaming industries you won't able to do that, right? But now you have chance, right? But the chance is pretty low, like to actually get the best X infinities, like let's talk about X infinities, right? Last cycle, like how much money that they make, like organically, too much, right? Like they billions, like billions of like actual revenues, and that comes from fees, people breeding NFTs, right? And that is crazy.
Oh, it was like $4 billion or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
it's like a couple of billions, like 4 billions, and that amount of money you can compare is even bigger than like Ubisoft or whatever, right? And this is insane, right? And that's the beauty of like Web3 games, that you basically build with your communities. Your communities have chance to grow with you, and that like is so far different from traditional investment that you just like in terms of like games, right? In traditional investment in games. But yeah,
your community is technically holders as well, so they're heavily incentivized to actually make it work. I mean, the biggest moment for any crypto gaming project is, typically speaking, their token launch, because the second it launches, you get thousands upon tens of thousands of holders that are all trying to vie for the success of the project. Which, maybe I'll give you a question here actually. What would you say is the big differentiator? Because I'm sure that there are probably more Web3 gaming projects that are going to succeed versus the norm in Web2, because they're already raising millions of dollars with their tokens. So are you worried that 90% plus of the current crypto gaming projects are still going to fail, or is that number going to be a little bit better for us? Like, are we trading a bunch of shit coins, or is there more to it?
Here's a definition. So like, what do you define fails, right? The game itself fails, or
it launches, nobody plays it, and then it just dies.
Okay, let's say if the game there's no one plays, but the token actually goes up, is this considered
a success?
Like
I guess.
Like there's so many examples here. Like there are tons of games that actually have 100 people playing and worth like close to billions.
I don't want to talk about it.
No, but just an example, right? Like, what
I mean, there's some without games that are worth billions of dollars. So yeah.
Oh, right. So the new metrics here to define what actually considered fails, right? As long as, I think, depends on how you look at it. I would say the percentage of, like, if you consider that like token price, everything is considered as well, I would say it's probably going to be a bit better than traditional investments, because people love speculations, and that's the beauty of games as well, right?
Very
like
true.
That's why like gambling is probably one of the biggest industries, and there's a lot of pros and cons having your gamers, having your players as investors as well. So usually that gamers are pretty toxic, right?
They get a little bit more emotional.
Yeah, right now you have like gamers plus an investors, and imagine like when things are going great, everything is like like rainbow and unicorn.
Everyone loves you. It's two extremes.
Like if you just go back 6 months or a year ago, right? People were always asking, where's the gameplay? Why is there, like actual games?
Yeah, they're calling me a fraudster, a
Yeah,
scammer, because I talked about video games and crypto, and now they're like, you're an angel god of
yeah.
all,
And
sent
you
above.
just look at today's videos, right? I couldn't see anyone start talking about gameplays anymore, which is, I would say,
We
is
all
good.
forgot about the gameplay, yeah.
Yeah, which is good and bad, right? But that's a fact of the industries, and that's what make the Web3 gaming industry so vibrant as well. So there are, tons of like speculations, and like it just like fits very well, right? But of course, it makes life of founders of games a bit harder as well. Depends on the market situations. But I have fully convictions that like the speculations here, it actually benefits the whole industry more, because now you have a lot of like chances indie games actually able to blow up due to some reasons. Like if because if like, to be honest, right, if you just care about the quality of the games and you just compare it to Web2 games, then you wouldn't
You
feel,
wouldn't be here.
you wouldn't be here, right? Like
Yeah.
there's so much more innovative um, stuff that you wouldn't able to do in traditional gamings. Like who would have think breeding NFTs and like just sell it on marketplace will earn you like 4 billion in revenues, right? Is like no one think that is gonna happen, right? And I believe in the next, I would say in like 2024 and onwards, we're gonna have that big kind of like moments again. We wouldn't know who would be one, the one that did it. It might could be like the next axis as well, or the next axis is something else. But yeah, it's very very exciting time, and GuildFi is ready for that as well.
All right, all right. Let's say for 1 second, we disconnect from the fact that you're GuildFi, and all of a sudden, you go homeless, but you have $1,000 to your name, and you have to put it in crypto gaming, and you have to hold it. I mean, it's like gunpoint. You have to hold it until 2025. What crypto gaming project slash strategy would you do to turn that 10,000? I mean, sorry, excuse me, that $1,000 into something that might actually put you with a head above board?
I think depends on how much allocations that 1,000 is in comparing to your portfolios. Is,
You're
let's say,
just a random person that just got in the space.
and that 1,000 is like all you have got,
That's all
or
you got. Yeah.
oh, this is really hard, man. Like,
You can't do anything else. Like, are you playing tournaments? Like, what are we trying to do here?
okay, so if, I mean, let's forget, we are from GuildFi and everything.
Yeah,
As
you
a
have all those connections.
crypto
No one
native,
cares. Yeah.
you know, I would say I will look into like very very low cap games
Oh,
that you truly believe, because like like if it's like you have $1,000, right, and you buy in like bitcoins, right, like let's say it goes 10x, you only have like what, like 10 grand, right?
hey, 10
But
grand in a third world country could be a lot.
yeah, but like this totally depends on your risk assignment as well. But if it is me, I would basically go into something that have moonshots, basically able to turn your life in a way, right? Like if you
So
talk
meme
about,
coins that are crypto gaming coins.
I wouldn't say that, but like if you have $1,000 and you just wanted to have like life changing moments, especially in these kind of markets, right? I think a good strategy is you just divide it into like 10 chunks, and like drop into 10 games, or 10
Oh,
like
like a
something.
top 10 crypto gaming tokens portfolio?
Yeah. But I would choose a combinations of like maybe some mid caps or low cap games, or something that's similar to meme coins, because it's actually something that able to create a life changing money for real, for from a single $1,000, right? And it actually, especially in this kind of market, it's very hard for you if you don't just like open deck screeners and just like pick random coins. It's very
Yeah.
hard for you to lose out, right? Because the sentiment is good. The whole industry is going well. Like the most of the tokens of the game, gaming tokens will basically have better chance to go up, especially, and the low cap coins will be have a much higher potential to have like like folds on top of that, right? So my strategy is divided by 10 chunks. Some of it in mid caps. Maybe you can put 1 to 2 chunks into like like the big names, and the rest like put in basically mid to small one, and that you truly believe. Do some homeworks. Like there are tons of like gems games that have a very low cap that comparing to last cycle they have been building for 2 years, but the token is still down like 98%. That's still quite a good names, a couple of names around that. Find the gems, like you can just drop that, then I think you're basically able to have a good potential returns.
Enter the casino, my friends, but do your own research on your odds. Hopefully you get some plus EV. is the TLDR of that. Okay, fair enough. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, in your perspective, you would just do VC things, aka just find low caps and try to actually get a gem. That makes sense. If I asked someone that played tournaments, it'd be like, oh, well, I would probably just play tournaments. If I invested into things, it'd be like, I'd probably find things to invest in early. So
but I think the most important here is that you don't even need like $1,000, right? You only need like $100. And as a gamers, as a Web3 gamers, or like if you basically love to play games, just go into every single game that you see that you love to play, or even you don't even love to play. And the meta now right now is basically play to drops, right? You play games and you earn like airdrops later on, and that is the one.
Yes.
Is the most important right now for the whole industries, as to create life-changing money from the airdrops, right? This applied to DeFi as well, and actually applying to gamings that recently almost every game project actually applied this, because it actually having a real win-win situations when games actually have more players, and like players that truly believe in it's almost like beta testers, right? Like usually you earn nothing from playing games as a beta testers. In Web3 games, you earn grants, which is if it never happens in traditional.
We're spoiled. We're so spoiled.
Yeah. So I would say like try out games. It doesn't really matter if you don't like it later on. Try out other games. It actually gonna pay backs. I guarantee that.
So you would say, I have $100 now. I lost the $900. Unlucky. Now I should go ahead and just play every single crypto game, because I might get an airdrop.
Yeah, and definitely a single airdrop is gonna worth more than $100.
It's true. It's true. I don't know if you have an example. I mean, I could just throw one out. Like, I've been playing this game. It's called Storm Warfare, and they've got like this prize pool for this tournament, right? And if you get top 100, you get a pretty decent amount of money. You get like what? $55 in like some whitelist spot, and that's just one of the thousands of different crypto games that are going to be coming out in the short term. To be honest with you, like, there's going to be so many different tournaments and opportunities for people to actually earn in these crypto games. So maybe you just don't invest into anything. Maybe invest into like a home and then just play tournaments.
Yeah, but this kind of cycle is, I wouldn't say it's not rare, but
okay,
it comes not that often, right? Like like these like meme cycles and everything, that basically everyone feels in the same way that the market sentiment is good, right? And every game is launching, and there's no better opportunities when like most of the games have been building for 2 years, and they are waiting for a moment to launch the tokens. And if it's not now, then when, right? So the opportunities here is massive. If you basically are players, the life-changing money sitting around the corners, just like testing out game, give feedbacks, join Discord, tweet about them. Like you will never know. Like you just get airdrop, and like this whitelist will be worth grants as well, right? So basically, you just need to spend most of your time grinding, and that will pay back for sure.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm not sure if you've gotten into the Solana ecosystem a lot. I mean, you have to. You're GuildFi, right? So I ended up getting like these little Solana phones with little bonk airdrops and something else, and I was starting to think.
Did you got it?
I did end up getting. I got 3 of those little phones, so I'm gonna flex it. I don't care. So stupid. I'm so stupid. But just generally speaking, with these ecosystems, they've been doing really well. I'm sure you've spoken to the teams that are heading whatever is happening in the crypto gaming department over there, especially AVAX, right? AVAX is really big into crypto gaming. Now that you're turning into an ecosystem with the GuildFi rebrand, what makes them so special? Like, why are people so excited about Solana AVAX?
So GuildFi will be basically a omni ecosystem. So basically, we going multi-chain. So it doesn't really
got it.
which chain like games are on, right? We go to them. But
you go to AVAX.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm going to AVAX.
Okay, we're not going to AVAX.
Yeah, but basically, if you think about like what, just bring up Solana, right? Like Solana itself is an ecosystem that have one of the strongest communities. Like I would say like a tribes, right? Or that people are very crazy.
Tribes. Okay.
But
cult members.
Yeah, cult, right? But Solana itself like have a very good foundations, have a good technologies. But due to some circumstance from FTX and everything, like for the past year they have been not doing very, very well. But
terrible,
of course, right?
Yeah, terrible.
But with recent, I would say not gaming in particular, but meme coins and everything. As you can see, like everything is about narrative, and once people,
doing all right.
Yeah, is once people feels like like the ecosystem is coming back, or the airdrops, people just, as you can see, the latest airdrop from the Solana ecosystem is pretty
the bonks, yes,
bonks, like Jitos and so many coins that you basically interact with one DApp and you get 10 grand. How is that not?
And it pumps so hard when they do little airdrops there too. It's insane.
Yeah, and how could you not go back to that ecosystem, right? Like, is pretty insane right now. And I would say Solana has a very strong foundations for gaming due to like their fast transactions, fast finalities, everything is moving so fast, so it actually fits a lot in gamings, right? And the last 2 years, I would say last cycle, tons of games are on Solana, right? And I'm definitely sure like 2024 we're gonna see that kind of cycles again. Game will be starting to go back to Solana to build as well. Like because the system is good, like the liquidity is there, like the liquidity is backed, right? Now, if you launch a game in Solana, I'm pretty sure no one's gonna care what games you're building, and people just
want
buy
the token. Yeah, for the NFT. Yeah.
But I mean, like the sentiment is pretty good, and that is very important for L1 chains, right? Like, you need to have liquidities for people to just like launch games, and people like have capital to invest. So I'm not gonna deep dive into like the technical perspective of Solana's and everything, but I'm pretty sure like next year they're gonna have a great comeback in terms of gaming as well.
Very interesting. I wonder what influences your insight into Solana crypto games. All right. So now that we are really hyped on the Solana ecosystem specifically, I'm going to give you a little bit of a curveball. Top 3 crypto games on Solana.
Top 3 crypto game on Solana? Oh man, this is hard. Like because it's not the cycle.
We don't care about the cycle. We have to give the top 3 crypto games for Solana.
Okay. I would say, I probably gonna be biased because
you can have all the bias in the world. That's the point.
I'm just gonna give you one name at first.
Okay.
So I would say Tatsumiko. Tatsumiko is one of our game that we invested a year ago. They have a very good foundations. If you know like NFT called Mikoloni, that recently goes up doing pretty well as well. They are building an RPG game that is a cross-platform. Yeah, correct.
Got it.
They are building an RPG game that is a cross-platform with Discord. So basically, you play it on Discord, and
it's on Discord.
It's a hybrid, so you can play the game on Discord and on your mobile phone as well.
What?
So it's a multiplayer, kind of like like turn-based RPG game that is cross-platform between like multiple. And it's very interesting because like they started from a Discord bot, which have like million of users, and they already have like user base there, right? So yeah, I'm pretty excited. I
Okay.
think the NFTs right now is in Solana, and I think they also are launching the tokens on Immutable, so kind of like across platforms, cross chain as well. So this is one that we are pretty excited. We have been building nonstop for 2 years as well.
Yeah, this is pretty much my first time hearing about it, even though I'm following it. So that's
Yeah,
always
I
great. I
mean,
pretty much follow
yeah,
every
the
crypto
million
game.
of games, man.
There's so many games. That's awesome. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out after this. So this is your top sold crypto game, or at least one of them that you're thinking about. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna hit you with another one. What
AVAX.
were the crypto games? No, we don't have to talk about AVAX. It's okay. We hate AVAX here. I'm kidding. So top crypto games in general this year. Which one really shocked you in terms of
In
launches this
terms
year?
of like
I can tell
launch,
you mine.
I mean, you can start first.
Sure.
What's
I
your
mean, big time was a shocker for me. I mean, when the thing launched, I mean, I was like, okay, you know, launches, the NFTs have been depreciated for a while. They'll go up, and then nothing will happen, and the token will die like SLP, and then this happened. So, you know, that was a bit of a shock for me, for sure.
So I think big time token launch is very well like launch because there are multiple factors, right? First thing is the token itself have no like seed investors. They basically launch on exchange, right? And basically no one have tokens, right? And how could token goes down when no one have tokens? That is,
Exactly.
I think, that is I wouldn't say that it's a bad thing. I think it's also one of the good strategies that they did well. Um, and the game itself have been building for. I mean, they're one of the oldest game that have been building for so many years, right? So I think that actually pays back as well on that. So and we are kind of like holding quite a few of the NFTs as well, so we are a bit biased here.
You
But
got your Time Warden stacked?
yeah, but I wouldn't be so surprised. I mean, I think it's pretty crazy on terms of like how much people trading that time the token launch should go spectacular, right? But I think this is one of the like games that we are also very excited about. But another on another perspective, right? Like this also bring back the old days of Axie Infinities
It
as well,
does.
right? I mean, I'm not sure you saw some news on Twitter, so, like especially in Saudi Asia, people closed down the whole internet cafe and just hire a bunch of like people,
Oh my
like
god.
scholarships is back again to just
Is
grind.
it? Like, actually?
Yeah, like in Vietnam, like we see a
Wow,
couple.
it's happening
Of,
again.
yeah,
Okay.
kind of like depends on the token price and NFT price, but
So they're doing it with Axie right now.
yeah, but it happens with big time as well. So basically, they closed
Wow.
down the full internet cafe, so like 100 plus, like desktop games, and just hire a bunch of like, like teenagers to play the games. So
Wow.
as you can see, it's already coming back,
I need to
and
buy an internet cafe. Yeah. You're
yeah,
right.
so it's like, but that is not a bad thing. I would say is one of the um idea that gives the perspective of the game is doing well, right? And I believe that like big time have been building for quite a while, and they should be doing quite great as well.
I mean, they deserve their success. Now, you can't say big time. What's your crypto game?
um like I need to be biased with my own backs, right? Like Charm
You
knows, right?
have to. You have to.
We are also one of the investors of Shamnos, so we are
Shrapnel?
pretty,
Okay.
yeah. So we're pretty excited about having a true
Yes.
triple A studios, right? That so like when people say that okay, I'm building a triple A studio and they raise like $2 million, that is impossible, right? Like if like how much salaries you need to pay for engineers, like people that in the game studios, you would know that a $2 million will last for I don't know 6 months or a year
Or
maximum
less.
or less, right? So that's the truth of like how to build a triple A, right? And Charmel is basically fit in many perspective of the team is stacked, right? They came from a truly triple A studios that have tons of experience. This doesn't guarantee that the game will be successful, right? Correct,
Yeah.
but it gives a bigger chance, a bigger possibilities of the game will basically doing good in a way, right? And as you can see, the quality of the game itself already show, right? Like they're basically building a true AAA games, and it's able to you probably able to play around like next year as well for everyone, which is
Yeah, I've
very
heard about that. I've talked to them about it. It's very
yeah
spicy.
yeah. So, but like this is still pretty new, right? Like even like this is probably gonna be the true AAA FPS that launch on like blockchain infrastructures, but we wouldn't know it will work or not. But we are super bullish on the team itself, and like yeah, the Chamnos is probably one of their one of the picks that we love. I think another names that we love as well is Paulos, even though we are not their investors, but I think they did very well on the TCG.
They did.
Right. The quality of games, and another thing is that they're able to create this kind of like quality content because they raise like 50 mils, right? So is either you raise a small amount and go on like kind of like indie route, or you raise a huge gigantic round and go in triple A's, right? And the so many games that is launching soon, but I'm just gonna say those names that people are familiar with,
Yeah.
that I'm super excited. Actually, Infinity just launched their own like part evolutions as well, which
They
is
did.
also they
What are
came
your
up.
thoughts on that?
I actually love it. I so if you look into like how mobile games works, right? Like you usually need to have like these vertical progressions in games, right? To keep people engaging, keep people to kind of like have. So what NFTs is different from traditional assets that you actually owns it, right? And what actually makes people feel own that is that you actually need to interact with that assets, right? And upgrade it. And I think this is the perfect sense is that once you upgrade your Axie, fine enough, you might don't want to even sell it anymore, right? Because you feel like, oh, this is my baby, this is my NFC that have been like playing with it for the whole year, right? And I think that is also a very interesting perspective, and it gives much more um, economy.
There's a lot more depth there. Yeah.
It's more depth, right? And people will start like grinding. I already have seen some like scholarship coming back. I'm not sure is that a bullish or bearish news, but
I
yeah.
should probably start it. I think I have like 200 axes just sitting around, but I think they're worth like a couple dollars or something like that.
Yeah, at peak we GuildFi have like a couple like
I don't want to talk about it.
20,000 axes that time.
What? Holy shit! Yeah, no. At peak, I think I had maybe 100 axes or something like that, and I thought I was balling it. I mean, I had like 10 full-time scholars just hamming at it. It was great, but times have changed, and they're looking a little bit the same, to be honest with you. Just a kind of different product, but kind of the same thing at the same time. All right, I guess the final question. We talked about this year. What was a shocker? 2024. It's coming soon. I mean, we're literally almost there. Might as well call it 2024. What is the crypto gaming project that clearly you have bags on that you're excited about, that people should be checking out that they probably aren't checking out? Just to give some alpha.
Give some alpha?
Yeah.
Okay, let me check my list first.
You have a list. Okay, fair enough. So bullish on Jaren. Hell yeah, guys. I mean, it's incredible to have the opportunity to do these things in these market conditions. So always got to give the alpha.
So I think let's change the perspective a bit.
Okay, different perspective.
On I would bring up some names of the games that we basically blew off next year that people don't even talk about it, which is a proper game from like Remix, right? You know Remix?
I do know WeMax. Yeah, they're more Asia, right? They have MIR4.
So if you look into one of the gaming ecosystem that actually have games that is playable and actually generate millions of revenues, like 100 million of revenues, this is probably one of the chains that people kind of like forget about it, right?
And they forget about it, but it's worth $1 billion. That's the funny part.
That's the funny part is that if you look at in Twitters, no one talks about it.
It's
right?
True. It's true.
Right? People kind of like excited in some particular games that is not launched yet, but the funny part is that Remix is one of the biggest Korean gaming publishers. They have like traditional arm as well, and they have like these Web3 arms. And the games that gonna come up next year is Nightcrawl, which already earned like 100 millions in revenues in Korea alone. And
Nightcrawl.
yeah, it's gonna launch a global servers next year, as a MMORPG, and
Oh
it's gonna
yeah.
be bigger than Merfolk, I would say.
Really?
Yeah.
Yo, where is this Twitter? What? Is it on Twitter? Nightcrawl?
Uh, yeah, Nightcrawl.
I don't think it's popping up. All
Yeah,
good. All
but
right,
I
fair
think that
enough.
is
But
one thing that people kind of like, like just forget about it, and is a game that gonna generate like like I would say like 100 millions of revenues for sure.
hundreds of millions in revenues. All right, guys, that's the alpha right there. Okay, it's not even on the website right now. Okay, that's
No, it's
insane.
not. It's not.
Yeah. So what's the deal with all these games launching in South Korea first, and then a couple of years later, or half a decade in the future, just launching global? Why do they do that?
So I think it's a different service, right? Like like
Hmm.
to validate the ideas. So you when usually talking about like game publishing, there are multiple ways to do it. You can publish your game like globally from day one, or you can publish your game into like some specific region, which many game publishers do that. Like they launch game into some small regions that is not their biggest market to test out, get feedbacks and everything. Once they're ready, they launch into the biggest regions that they think they're able to generate revenues from, right? So there are
Yeah.
tons of ways to do this, um, way, right? And I would say in terms of like Remix, they're basically Korean company.
Yeah.
That's why it makes total sense to just launch in a market that truly dominates, right?
100%.
Yeah, like, so that is one thing. So if you look into like the actual people always love that MMORPG is the best fit for crypto games, in kind of sense. And Merfolk is also one of the examples that people actually buy characters not for earning. They just wanted to dominate the service, by basically buying like characters that were like 500K or even like $1 million, and that happens very often, in especially in Asia region. That's why like crypto gaming is actually fit in Asian market very well, right? Because we are so familiar with like account tradings, like black market, P2P trading, gray market, currency tradings. So it total fits the whole like background for Asian countries on that sense. And I'm not saying like I'm Asian and I'm super bullish in Asian games
I hope
that
so.
yeah, but yeah, like especially kind of like used to be play to earn.
Yeah.
It blew up in Asia as well, right? So I would say next cycle is gonna be very similar. They probably have some games that actually do very well in Asia and then grow from there. Yeah.
Okay, so it's a testing ground pretty much. Korea is where all these MMORPGs like to go to for launch. If it ends up working out, goes mass scale, eventually we'll look into a global launch is the TLDR of that. It's crazy because, you live in the Western world, you don't hear about half the things that happen in the East. And I was looking into the rise of League of Legends. A lot of it was predicated because of the Asian markets. So there is a lot of lucrative things happening in Asia right now that I feel like I'm personally sleeping on, that I personally don't really understand, but I'm sure is going to be like insane in 2024 and beyond. And so thank you for joining us. We're at the top of the hour. It's been an absolute blast. The alpha has been immaculate. This is an alpha packed one for sure. So thank you for
I
joining.
hope we give enough alpha here.
You've given a lot of alpha. If someone complains after this video uploads, I don't even know. You guys have to smash the like button for this one. Hopefully we can have a catch up like 6 months down the line. Look at some of the plays that happened now, maybe what happened in 2024. And so with that being said, go ahead, shout yourself out.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me as well. Very bullish on
Everybody follow Jarender. Thank you.
let's catch up again around a couple months and see how it goes. The whole market.
Yeah, guys. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later. Stay classy. And that's all.